how did everyone get their start in PPC? So looking to pivot to PPC, but it seems hard to break into. Unsurprisingly, there doesn't seem to be anyone out there willing to trust a newbie like me with their ad budget.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, especially if you don't have any experience, just because you have to start somewhere. How's it going, everybody? My name is Gene Villanoz from the PPC Cave, and we're back together again for another episode with my lovely co-host Ryan Fenton. Ryan, say what's up.
What's up? Such a lovely introduction. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, today we're actually pulling a Reddit Q&A segment or episode. And before we get into that, this is a podcast, I would say, that's very transparent. We like to go very deep into our daily lives as PPC managers. And I think Ryan kind of has more of a funny client story to tell you guys first.
Do you have like a dun 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 type of music or not?
I have this. That's one I have. Yeah, I don't know what else the other ones are.
No, that's cool. I'll just get straight into it. This happened to me last night. I was just chilling. I was, and I got a message come through from an inquiry, really, and I had to show Gene because this guy was just very, I don't know, I don't want to say rude, but Gene was like, I'm a lot more polite than what you would have been, I think. But this guy hit me up and he was just like, basically, I need your help generating leads. He said something like, I'll pay $500 for every lead that I convert to a sale, and I'll increase your pay per deal after 10 deals get successfully closed. So I hit him up, and I just wanted to clarify, like, just to be clear, are you offering me $500 per successful deal as well as the monthly management retainer? And I said, what's your advertising budget for this as well? Just to kind of give him a little bit of a question as well. And he said, I will close the deals. I'm charging only $500 per successful deal that I close, with an increase, like he just said before, after 10 deals get completed. I need you to send me leads of homeowners who are interested in having a conversation about this product service. In this industry, I only make money when deals are closed. So you'll make money when deals are closed too. And this means you'll make a lot more money that way. Okay. I don't pay for ad budget, brother. Okay. When he said that, that was kind of like the red flag. The offer is I'll pay you per deal that I close if you generate leads that result in deals that I close. So I didn't know. Where do I start? I don't pay for other people's advertising. I don't think anyone should. I think if you're a business, if you're a company, you should pay for your own advertising. It's not my Google Ads account. It's the client's Google Ads account. It's the business's Google Ads account. So the ads should come through from the business's account, credit card, debit card, whatever it might be. So for him to want me to pay for his advertising, and then he's not even going to pay. Well, he's not even going to pay for the advertising, number one. So that's a huge no. Number two, he's not even going to pay the monthly management retainer with me. He's only going to pay once I give him deals and he converts them. Well, number one, like, okay, what if he converts the deals, but he doesn't tell me about these? He might just keep all the money for himself and just occasionally give me $500 or something. So the whole setup seemed very sketchy anyway. So I was considering just laughing in his face and just being like, yeah, good luck. See you later. Whatever. But I was professional and polite. And I was like, look, I'm sorry, but this isn't the service I offer. Thanks and good luck, pretty much. And then he said, I appreciate the conversation. If you think you can make it work, I'm willing to give you a shot. Wow. Thank you so much. You're willing to give me a shot. He's very condescending at this point, in my opinion. It may not have come across that way, but to me, very condescending. in this industry, I only make money when deals close, but when deals close, there's a lot of money to share with the people that help me. Have a great day, brother. Yeah, so the thing is, he's coming to me, right? So I don't need him. He's coming to me for my services, for my expertise. He's not going to pay me. In fact, I have to basically pay him because I'm funding his advertising, which is crazy. And the fact that he said he was willing to give me a shot was just very cheeky, in my opinion. I've got a client portfolio where clients pay me a monthly retainer at the moment. Well, I'm not going to say how many I've got, but I would like to say I've got a fair few clients on the
Mm.
books who trust me with their ad accounts, which that in itself means a lot to me. They trust me with their advertising spend, their advertising dollars, pounds, whatever it may be, and, put their trust in me to generate them results, which I do my best to do. So yeah, for him to say, I'm willing to give you a shot and you pay for my ads and I don't pay for ad budget, brother. I mean, who am I speaking to? Am I speaking to Hulk Hogan or what's going on here? Like, have a great day, brother. Like, what's going
Wow.
on? So that was just bizarre. And the first thing I did was, well, I laughed and then I took a screenshot and sent it to Gene. And Gene's response was, let me see if I can find it really quick. I'll obviously blur out. Well, I won't show it, but you're a master of patience. That would have ground my gears, brother. Not gonna lie. Everyone's saying brother to me at this point. I feel like I'm
It's
like
me.
Macho Man Randy Savage. It's Hulk Hogan. It's brother. It's crazy. I give you a shot. He should be lucky to even have a business. So that was Gene's response, and yeah, it was just a good bit of fun. What did you think?
I would have seen red. I would have from I would have probably just asked um more questions and really just annoyed him right back. I don't know. That just depends if I have time to be petty. But yeah, that is definitely a red flag as a client. We could talk about that later in our segment. But yeah, thanks for sharing. And whoever you are out there, no, he did not reply to you in an unprofessional way. Instead, we talk about you on a podcast with 300 plus subscribers. So I think it's fair that we get to have this vent session for people that are, just a little out of pocket, I would say. But yeah, that sucks, because we really try to do our best to, be professional. And sometimes, we get a little tempted to act out. But, part of being professional is just kind of taking it and just be like, okay, well, it is what it is. And we move on, to clients that are actually respectful and have an idea of how to be professional. So yeah, getting into it, if there's nothing else with that, we have some Reddit questions that we want to answer. I could share my screen real quick. This is actually one question from a Redditor that I answered. And let me just share my screen and I could read it and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm just going to read it the way it's written. Did somebody else face a drop, low impressions in search campaigns? What did you do to solve this? Need advice? Please. I have a search campaign, objective, leads, bidding, maximize conversions. Yes, the campaign generates conversions. When I launched the campaign, I chose max clicks. And after a month, I switched to max conversions. After this switch, my impressions dropped considerably from 1,000 a day to 100 a day. I increased the budget. Everything is eligible. No errors. Tracking is in place. So I don't know what it's the problem. Thank you in advance for your help. Oh my gosh. I feel like that's,
I got
whoever that is seems like a nice person. Anyways, Ryan, if something goes wrong, if you switch from bid strategy, in this case, max clicks to max conversions, you're seeing less impressions. What do you do here?
Well, it's probably gone back into bid learning mode, number one. So the bid strategy is learning. You just made a big change inside the campaign, and it's not like it's just going to be linear and continue as it was. there's going to be a little bit of a drop off as Google optimizes for the new bidding strategy. You've gone from maximize clicks, which is maximizing the number of clicks that you can get for your daily budget, to maximizing conversions. Now, if you have historical conversion data, anywhere between, say, 20, 25 conversions, maybe 30 conversions in the last 30 days, then maybe this is a good thing to do. Switch from max clicks to max conversions to scale up. And then, yeah, you're probably going to see maybe 2, 3, maybe even a week, 2, 3 days to a week, where, maybe impressions drop off a little bit, just while Google optimizes and understands and learns a new bidding strategy you're telling it to do. Before, it was advertising to these group of people, and now you're saying, no, I don't want those people. I want people that are most associated and most likely to convert with me. So it's kind of dropping that ball a little bit, picking up a new ball and running with it. So yeah, you do need to kind of give it that. But the other side of it is, if you don't have that historical conversion data, if you don't have 20 to 30 conversions in the last 30 days, it might not be an optimal bidding strategy to use at that point. You may need more conversions. So I would say it really depends on how many conversions the guy had. Yeah, and a good thing to do here is, rather than just go balls to the wall. Wait, should I say that? Should I say pedal to the pedal, balls to the wall?
I like balls to the wall better. It's funnier.
Yeah, but this is like a family podcast, isn't it?
A little bit. It's okay.
A little bit, yeah. So if you go pedal to the metal,
There you go.
then you're basically hoping it's gonna work out. So what a less riskier approach would be: create an experiment. Assuming you've got a decent sized budget, maybe like $50 a day, $100 a day, consider doing an experiment instead, where you would have the base campaign as maximize clicks, then take 50% of that budget away into a maximize conversions experiment. Let that run for maybe 30 days, maybe 60 days, maybe 45 days, something like that. You could do 14 days. I know a lot of Google reps have said give it 14 days to see the new bidding strategy if it performs. I think that's you could maybe, but probably a month is probably about right to 40 days. Give that experiment that time duration and then review the results at that point. You can either apply that experiment, or you can say, nope, maximize clicks was the right bidding strategy. Let's just continue with that. So that would be my response, a long-winded response with a bit of humor in there. What about you, Gene?
Yeah, I think that's very important what Ryan mentioned. For me, I would definitely let them know that when you're switching from max clicks to max conversions, I mean, I would think max clicks to maybe manual CPC is probably the only time that you might not see an impression drop off, because max clicks is opening the floodgate at the the most aggressive way possible, especially if you don't have any max CPC limit. So, max clicks is exactly what it is. You're going to get lots of impressions, therefore lots of clicks. So if you're moving towards any other bid strategy, especially max conversions, what Google's job is to be a little bit more selective in impressions and traffic compared to what you were doing before with max clicks. And my thing is, if there are conversions, I would be more concerned with the overall conversion number, as opposed to cost, or maybe cost per conversion and just the conversion volume. How has that evolved from moving from max clicks to max conversions? Just because sometimes lower impressions in the right situation, it doesn't always mean less conversions. I know we understand that it's impressions first, clicks, and then conversions, but there are sometimes where you don't need a higher impression to get more conversion. So what is the conversion volume doing, is probably the answer. But, I think the big thing, if you're really focused on lower impressions, because you changed from max clicks to max conversions, I think what Ryan says to kind of mitigate that with an experiment is very valuable. But like he also mentioned, you might have switched prematurely. If max clicks has worked for you for only a month and you've gotten healthy amount of impressions that have led to conversions, And, maybe you didn't have enough consistent conversion data from Google's to continually serve the same audience, throughout that switch. What I would do also is look at your search keywords and search terms historically and look at what has been attributed to getting conversions in the past, and just to look specifically how much has that keyword been served in regards to impressions, and what's the difference after the bid strategy switch. Maybe figuring this out, you could work towards maybe converting those converting search keywords and search terms. You could show them a little bit more from a manual perspective through a manual CPC ad group or bid strategy, and that could help you direct those impressions and clicks to those specific search keywords and terms that have converted in the past. But maybe it's just time for you to, narrow the qualifying traffic, in the search term report so that the impressions don't get stolen away from irrelevant non-converting keywords. So that's kind of what I would do, long-winded as well, just because Google Ads in itself is long-winded. There's just not like do this answer. There's lots of different things that we could go about. But yeah, any I guess final thoughts on this first Reddit question, Ryan, moving forward?
No, I think we kind of covered everything for that one. I'm just more excited now for the new segment and the music. You look so happy when you play the music. So
Yeah, so speaking of new segment, it's time for our segment, Ask a Freelancer. Okay, what red
that's always going to
flags?
make me laugh. Okay,
It's
carry
the
on.
best. It's the best. What red flags do you look for before taking on a new client? This goes with almost our intro story. But yeah, what red flags do you look for before taking on a new client, Ryan?
Yeah, everything. I mean, is the mindset right? Are their expectations correct? We've got $10 per day we want to spend. We want to hire you to manage the ads, and we want 100 leads per week, and we want a cost per conversion to be this. We want clicks to cost no more than this. Just crazy like expectations that are just not realistic. That's something. Um, like we said in the previous episode, listening to how they speak. Are they professional with you? Do they respect you? Are they swearing? I think people swearing a little bit, at least in the first call, tells me a lot about that person and the character. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like against swearing or anything like that, but first impressions and everything count, and I think you need to be professional and polite and, kind of gauging with someone if we're on the same page. I think that's probably for me the main thing is that are we on the same page? I'm not like super serious and things like that. Of course I am when it comes to business, but at the same time, I like to have a little bit of humor here and there. I'm not just going to say that I just find the whole thing funny because I don't. But it's more about are we on the same page, right? Are we similar type of people? Could we work together? Is this a partnership that could be long term, or is it a case of we don't gel, we're not aligned in the expectation, the outcome, and things like that. So there's so many different red flags, but most of the time it's their expectations just being crazy. Yeah, off the top of my head, that's my answer. What about you?
Yeah, it's a lot of things, but like Ryan mentioned, it's me just getting a feel for the first conversation, but sometimes that's not always the best way. But I think you have to still factor that in as a guide. But I also look at their actual business. A lot of the times you can see a potential client and how they are with how the business is. So I'll go through their website and, I'll go to the About Us. If there's a founder section, I'll go through there, and I'll do a little bit of a, internet
Diligent.
sweep. Yeah, some due diligence. Might look at the LinkedIn profile and be like, okay, what's this person about? Is it something that I can have some synergy with in the way that they conduct themselves within their business? And I think that's sometimes, good, but then at, different situations is like you can't predict, how they are, but you have to do some type of due diligence for sure.
Cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do we have an outro music for that segment or not?
No, it was just
Just
the
the same
same.
one.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's okay. We don't have to play it again. But yeah, I mean, that was our segment, Ask a Freelancer. And now Ryan is going to share his screen and go into another Reddit question.
Cool. Okay, so I like this one. It's kind of like a nice little light-hearted question. I think a lot of the questions that we
Mm.
we we ask are very serious, and it's always about like problem solving. But this one, it's a bit more light-hearted, and I kind of like it. How did everyone get their start in PPC? So this person, I guess, is just generally looking for information here, looking to pivot to PPC, but it seems hard to break into. Unsurprisingly, there doesn't seem to be anyone out there willing to trust a newbie like me with their ad budget. Considering just cold pitching every PPC agency in town, but wondering if there's a better way. What would you do in my position right now? So I don't really. I mean, we can ask both questions, I guess. But I kind of like that question. How did everyone get their start in PPC? And I'm gonna ask you first, Gene. How did you get your start in PPC?
Yeah. So back then, I had a website, an eBay store, social media called erievintage.com. Shout out Erie Vintage. And this was a men's thrift store where I thrifted Jordans, jerseys, vintage, Tommy Hilfiger, Polo Ralph Lauren, things like that. And I sold on eBay. And, I went through and yeah, the Polo. Shout out to Ryan. Um, and so, yeah, I did it on eBay for a little bit. Then I was like, there has to be a way for me to get more traffic because these are piece unique, clothing that I know if someone is searching for this, the intent is so high just because I know it's one of one essentially. And it's not one of one, but I'm saying that the stuff that I got, it was like one of only one quantity. So I created my own website and I figured out, hey, what better way to drive more traffic besides social media and blogs, but to test Google Ads. So I ran my own Google Ads, and yeah, it was successful for a little bit. But then I figured out it's tough to run Google Ads, and then the product goes down. Then you have to, do another search campaign for a specific one. So I started doing collections, and I basically learned how to, as a business owner, run traffic to my website. And I kind of just parlayed that into my job right now. I've been there for almost 8 years. And now I do it also as a freelancer. What about you, Ryan?
Well, before we get into to me, is Erie Vintage still out there? Did you sell it? What's the situation?
No. So I was just like, well, it's good, but just going to the thrift store and getting inventory, that was one thing I didn't really have a good supply chain for, was the inventory. I didn't have time to do 3 or 4 hours at the thrift shop, on a Saturday. And so that's kind of what was the demise, I guess, or the downfall of Erie Vintage. I didn't sell it, but I think it is still up. It's like some Italian company now, I think.
Wow.
I think I saw it on LinkedIn. But I still have the handle. So at Erie Vintage, if you're out there, I still have the handle on Facebook, I believe. And
Make it
I still
awesome.
I have LinkedIn, the LinkedIn, page also. So hit me up and we can make a deal.
That's a cool little side hustle, I think. And I guess it's not really in 2025. I think the second hand, the used, the aftermarket type of market really, I guess, has become more popular than ever. You know, I don't know. Do you guys have Vinted over there in the US? You do?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's what it's called, but there's so many like Depop or just even
Yeah.
like a marketplace or,
No, I
there's a
love
lot.
them. I think it's really good. Was all the garments that you got, were they legit or were they just kind of knockoffs, like fake?
No, they were legit. There were definitely things that I had to learn and research to make sure
Wow,
that it was, but that was before eBay authentication. So, but yeah, to my knowledge, they were legit.
that's cool. You might have to do a little check of my polo Ralph Lauren quarter zip just to make sure it's legit,
Looks
I guess.
legit to
But
me. Just the zipper, in my opinion, is heavy
yeah, well, you
duty.
got the thing there, but anyway,
Yeah.
no, that's really cool, man. And I know I've heard this story before. Anyway, you've told me about it before. I always thought it was such a cool way of getting into PPC and also a cool side hustle project. So yeah, congrats on that. And
Thanks.
it's a shame that you don't have it anymore, but it sounded like it's a lot of upkeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I started out at a training company here in the UK. Hated it, really didn't like it. The owners were just awful people, just really bad people. And, most of my, I don't know if I can say this, but a lot of my bosses were just
Hmm.
bad bosses. And yeah, maybe it was me. Maybe I'm just not really good at, um, being a good employee, so to speak. But yeah, for me, it was very much more like just terrible bosses, and I always clash with them and things like that. So anyway, didn't like that one. Went to another agency, and then left that agency. Went to another agency, and at that agency, that's where I started doing a little bit of PPC. Up until
Mm.
this point, I was SEO. I was doing local SEO stuff like that. I was writing blogs, I was doing landing page optimizations, keyword research, all that kind of stuff that comes with SEO. And, it just dragged me down and I just started really disliking it. And then the last agency, and I kind of had a little bit of exposure at that agency to PPC. And then that's when I kind of knew I wanted to veer into it, but they weren't really giving me that opportunity. And this was back in 2020. So the offices kind of shut down for COVID. And then, yeah, I just about got out to another agency, my last agency. And there it was do everything pretty much. It was, um, you know, SEO, it was social, it was PPC. And that is the sexy part for me was learning PPC. And that's kind of what I did. I didn't really have anyone to hold my hand. I just kind of self taught, and just had these accounts. It was sink or swim. And thankfully, I swam because, for me, if I'm really interested in something, I'm going to fixate on it. I'm going to try and be the best I can be at it. So it wasn't just a job for me at that point. I genuinely wanted to get better at Google Ads and PPC. So I do a lot of research, and thankfully, it turned out okay. And some of these clients got some really good results towards the end. While I was managing them. And then, yeah, I got into a really good position where I started getting clients on the side as well and freelancing. And yeah, started my own business. And it's been plain sailing ever since. I've never looked back. I'm so thankful and grateful that I get to do what I love, which sounds really geeky and nerdy, but I love Google Ads. I mean, I've got a bloody podcast about it with an American, for God's sake. So it's it's definitely something I love to do, and I pinch myself like this is what I've always wanted, to be my own boss, to have my own company doing Google Ads, and yeah, I love it. And what's better is I can help. I've always wanted to help local businesses and help businesses, and it's so rewarding to see that. Okay, we've had a really good month, record breaking months and things like that. So I love it. And that's why I want to get more and help more people. So yeah, it's great. So that's how I got my break into PPC. But the other part of this question, I guess, before we kind of wrap up, I guess, is
Yeah.
what would you do in my position right now? So the guy is obviously saying that he wants to get into PPC. He doesn't know how to. He's thinking about cold pitching every PPC agency in town. Like, how would he break into Google Ads and PPC?
Yeah, I mean that's tough, especially if you don't have any experience, I think before you even cold pitch, it doesn't take any money to just sign up for Google Ads. You could put your credit card number in and just get a feel of how the interface looks. And you can't do that if you don't have an account, if you don't have access to an account. I think that's first and foremost, because you have to understand that if someone is going to hire you for PPC, then you're handling a budget and you just don't provide that type of keys to the kingdom or trust to someone that has no idea, the baseline of what Google Ads is in a way. I don't know if he does have any experience, but if you don't, I would definitely look at a lot of the Google Doc, or not Google, the Google Documents, Google Ads .com, and just look at the forums, and maybe even take a certification test, just because you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and it's very, very complex system with Google Ads. And if you don't understand the early basic jargon of what CPC, CTR, impressions, clicks, then it's hard for you to grasp more secondary or advanced tactics, or just how it works. So I think that's first and foremost. But yeah, I think maybe going in and finding maybe even like an internship, maybe doing it for free. Maybe you're shadowing as an apprentice, or maybe you just be completely honest to one of these people that you're applying a job on, and just be like, yeah, I don't have any experience, but I'm okay to do something else and learn Google Ads alongside, my other task of maybe as a sales associate or customer support or something like that. But also, be able to shadow the team that does Google Ads. What would you do, Ryan?
Well, I actually really like your suggestion. Excuse me. I will just apologize, by the way, to the listeners, to the watchers, because if you're hearing me like cough and things like that, I've got hay fever at the moment, so I'm just like dying, but I'm powering through. So apologies if it's not pleasant on the ears, but um, I like your idea. I think I thought about this. If you have, for example, a trading account, you open up a trading account, you can open up a demo trading account and practice with fake money and get a feel for the system and do different trades and things like that. I always thought, why didn't Google Ads have a similar thing where it's like you
Yeah.
can create a demo account, right? And you can just practice and create campaigns and, you know, just like Google money or something like that. Not actual money, but like pretend money or something. And just to get a feel of, okay, you're getting impressions, you're getting clicks. What would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? All simulated. I think that could be like a really good way for so many people to enter Google Ads without actually throwing down any money. But the next best thing will be what Gene recommended. Open up a Google Ads account, put your card in, and whether you have a website you want to promote, you've got a friend's website, something like that, that could be a good way of, you're helping your friend. And that's what I was just saying is what I love to do is help businesses, so you learn as a marketer, as an advertiser. Your friend gets the benefit because he's getting free, well, not free exposure, but he's paying for that exposure, unless you want to pay for him. Say, look, I'll pay the ads. I just want to get better at Google. It's all free for you. And he might be like, yeah, great. Then he's getting free exposure. Or he might say, well, put my card on and I don't mind paying for it while you learn. So maybe a friend, maybe a family member, that could be a good way of entry. And then you've got your first case study. You've got a review, then you could use that. So that's number one. I think probably offering your services for free, or just being honest and showing your motivation and your passion for learning, for the industry. If you just say, look, this is my first gig, first interview, I don't have the skills, I don't have the tools, but I've got the dedication, I've got the passion, I've got the motivation to learn. So whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And if you kind of just say that in an interview, I think that'll get you ahead of mostly a lot of other people who are very generic and plain. You need to kind of stand out in these, I think. And if you say, look, this guy, he could be really good, he could be a good employee. He might not have the tools for the job, but we can train him in like a month or something, and we can hand him 5-10 clients, and we know he's going to take them and run. Whereas if you get someone who, might have 5 years experience, he might be at the end of his tether. He might have like burnt out. He might not have the passion anymore. So that could be an option, is to offer your services for free, or just explain to people, look, I'm hungry, I've got the desire, and people respect that. So that's what I would say. Go to your local PPC agency, apply for some interviews, give your CV, or I guess, what do you call it over there? Not CV, like a
Resume.
resume. Thank you, and I'm not in, and just explain that. I think so. Yeah, that's what I would say anyway. Obviously, otherwise, maybe look at freelancing platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, things like that to get a start. So there are many ways of getting into PPC, but and I don't know if it is necessarily saturated. I still think there's a client out there for everybody, whatever kind of stage you're at. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's good advice.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think this was a very straightforward Q&A, and I like that question. I like that it was a little bit less
Thank you.
pressure to give, pull from the tool bag of our experiences, even though we, do that all the time. This one was a little bit more like open-ended. I like it. So, yeah, before we close it out, Ryan, are there any final words for you?
No, it's Easter holidays here in the UK at the moment. So on the next episode, it's probably going to be a solo episode from Gene, in all honesty. I won't be there. I will be with the children, pulling out the last remaining hairs on my head that I have because I'll be stressed. Um, I might be a smoker by the next episode. Who knows? I might be
Pick up a
heavily
habit.
drunk, and yeah, I might just be like recovering myself from that. But yeah, that's all I was gonna say.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I hope everyone here has a good Easter, good break. Right now it is April 10th. So moving towards the spring months, the summer months over here in the US. So yeah, we'll continue to drop our episodes every Monday, 12 a.m. Mountain Time. And we're on Spotify video, regular Spotify, YouTube video. You can see our social media on TikTok, IG Reels, YouTube Shorts. And if you have any questions, hit us up on the PPC Cave at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, or just comment under any of our social media, and we'll be able to address what you're talking about in an episode. Ryan, where can they find you?
You can find me, Ryan Fenton, ppc.co.uk, for audits, consultations, Google Ads management, all the good stuff. What about you?
I'll be at genevillanoz.com. And yeah, like I always say, if there's nothing else, bye for now.